you wrestling fanatics? You're listening to the True Wrestling Podcast, episode 15. Today, my dad talks with Erie Cathedral prep coach Mike Hahesy. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to the website sponsor, Adidas Wrestling. They kick butt. Check the website for Blair, Malvern Prep, and McDonough video from this weekend. And without further ado, let's get into the interview.
Here with Erie Cathedral prep coach Mike Hahesy. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me today, Coach.
You're welcome. Sorry about all the computer difficulties, but we got it figured out.
I think you're going into your third year here at Cathedral Prep.
Ninth year.
Ninth year. You got to update the website.
I told you I hate computers. That will be my. That's what's going to kill me with wrestling is computers.
All right. Well, Cathedral Prep has been steadily building right now. And it looks like coming into this year, it might be down to you and Bethlehem Catholic for a dual team title, or at least the favorites, as well as at Hershey in March. And you've been building the program up to a state powerhouse. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background with coaching, and what's going on at Erie Cathedral Prep?
Well, my background is I was born and raised in rural Iowa. And I grew up on a farm, and we never had much money, and I never knew anything about wrestling until I was in fifth grade. And pheasant hunting is really big back in Iowa, at least it used to be. It's like opening day of deer season in Pennsylvania. My dad went pheasant hunting that day, and my mom had to work, so my dad sent me to the YMCA with the neighbor kids, and that was the first time I ever knew anything about wrestling. So then we had it in gym class that year for the first time, and I started wrestling in gym class. And so that was my start. I went to a high school called Cedar Rapids Prairie High School, and on my team, I had Lenny Zaleski, Jimmy Zaleski, Barry Davis. Those are some of the big names, but I had several other people that were superstars. My high school was always in the thick of it for the state title, and we were just a bunch of really just dumb farm kids that we had a great coach and we had a great work ethic, and we probably didn't know over 8 to 10 moves if you added them all together. Us kids, we were just hard-nosed kids, and we did a great job. And then in college, I went to University of Iowa for 3 years, and I was always second string there, so I transferred to Edinburgh with Mike Deanna, and Mike Deanna was the recruiter for Iowa, so he took this job at Edinburgh, and he's originally from Ohio. So I came out here in the fall of '84, planning on staying for 2 years, and that was 34 years ago. So, and I've been a high school coach for 17 years, and I've also coached at Gannon for 4 and Edinburgh for 10. So I've been in coaching for 17 and 14, 20. 33 years. I've been coaching for a long time.
That's quite the. I just talked to Lenny Zaleski maybe a month ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just before they wrestled Ohio State, and that's quite the room you grew up with.
It was incredible. I mean, there was other kids in there. There was kids on my team that nobody really knows about that were great wrestlers. I mean, my years in high school, we got first, second, and my senior year, I think we got 5th place in the state tournament. Like I said, it was just a bunch of farm kids, and we had a great coach, and he was just a great leader and a great role model, and that's probably how I learned most of my coaching techniques from my high school coach.
What interested you in the sport? You talked about being farm kids and aggressive, but what is it that really? I mean, even to this day, what keeps you involved?
To this day, I have a really passion for wrestling. Wrestling's done all kinds of things for me. I grew up in the country, and we didn't have much money. I mean, wrestling got me an education. It got me to see the United States. It got me to meet all kinds of wonderful people. And I have 3 daughters now, and shit, they know more about wrestling than I do. They call me all the time and tell me who beat who, and so from Ohio is really good, and my daughter went to Penn State, and she knows all those guys will call me, hey, so-and-so's overweight, or so-and-so. I'm like, how do you know all this? They know more about it than I know. And which is really good because that lets me know that my daughters are hanging around good people, and they're big into sports, and they're not out, doing bad things. So wrestling's been good for me, not only for me, but it's been good for my daughters too. It's let them see a lot of things and meet a lot of really neat people. So.
Got it. Now, we're both grown men here, but reflecting back onto your competitive days, did you fulfill the goals you had as a wrestler?
No, I didn't.
And does that drive you at all as a coach?
I don't know. I guess I just see how far wrestling can take a kid. I mean, like I said, nobody in my family ever went to college, and nobody has since.
Okay.
And that was 30 some years ago. So if it wouldn't have been for wrestling, I wouldn't have went to college. I'd be working at a factory back in Iowa, probably making boxes or something to do with corn, because corn's big in Iowa. I'd be doing something like that. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I've seen a lot of places that nobody else in my family's seen. And but no, I don't know if that's what keeps me into it or not, but I think I still have something to share, and I think I'm still valuable to kids, and I know someday. I saw a John Wayne movie I'm a big time country western guy, and I saw a John Wayne movie a couple years ago, and I forget what the name it was, but he was talking about gunfighting, and this guy wanted to get in a gunfight with him, and he says, "Hey, the thing is, we're both gunfighters, but I know my time's over." And he ended up killing the guy, I guess, to make a dramatic finish. But I guess I'm still in the gunfighting mode, and I know one of these days, and it's not too much further, that my gunfighting days are going to be over with, and I'm going to ride off into the sunset. So
Interesting. Speaking of John Wayne, I tried to come up. I was a longtime coach, still coach a youth team, but I was at a new spot, and we tried. My wife was telling me to come up with. Wanted to provide coverage. Come up with a name for a wrestling website and start doing some coverage. And we just watched True Grit, John Wayne. And that's how I went through a bunch of goofy names. And that's how I ended up with True Wrestling, was just True Grit. My wife was like, why don't you just use that? Anyway, John Wayne story. Well, you haven't lost any fire as far as, clearly you're building a team here that's competitive. Can you tell me a little bit about building Cathedral Prep into a state powerhouse?
It didn't happen overnight. Like I said, this is my 9th year. I would say the first year we were pretty good, because the coach who left there before me had some pretty good seniors, but I think we graduated 10 seniors my first year. So for the next 2 years, man, we were down. We didn't have too much talent, and we really had to really start building from there. And then we had it going pretty good about year number 4 or 5. We had a pretty good team, but I had 3 kids that transferred back to their home schools because they couldn't afford the tuition, and that set us back a year. And for the last 3 years, we've been very good. So, but we had kind of a plan in place, and we started building a junior high, and we started working with some of the kids clubs around here and stuff. So it wasn't an overnight thing, and it's taken a while, but we're fairly competitive right now. Yeah.
Just to touch back on one thing you said, so you feel like you're closer to the end of the road than the beginning. What keeps your competitive fire burning right now?
I don't know if I have a good answer to that. I think part of it's just being in sports my whole life. I mean, I've been in sports my whole life, and I really don't like to lose. Like if I played you in checkers, I'd want to beat you in checkers. And I'm always trying to figure out ways to make our kids better, like within the rules. Do you know what I mean? Like I know a lot of coaches take shortcuts. They come up with this stupid move, like I can't even think of it. I'm just going to say cement mixer or something.
Sure.
They drill on that, then hopefully they catch you and pin you. But I try to do like good stuff that's going to win at the upper levels.
Yep.
And so I'm always like looking at stuff, and I'm always watching other teams. I watch the Big Ten channel all the time and see what like Penn State and Ohio State and Iowa kids are doing, and I try to kind of dumb that down a little bit that will work for the high school level, because I don't have anybody in my team that's as talented as Jason Nolf or as funky as Bo Nickel, but they do stuff that you can they do 10 things, but maybe 2 of those things a high school kid could probably do. So that's the stuff you try to work on.
Yeah.
So,
what's your favorite memory when you look back at coaching?
my favorite memory,
Yep.
probably my days at Iowa when I was there. I was there for 3 years. Like I said, I was always second string. I was behind the first year. I was behind Marty Kissler. Then I went up to 58, and I was behind Jimmy Zaleski. Then when Jimmy graduated, Marty Kissler went 58 again. And then in the meantime, Jim Heffernan came there and Royce Alger came there. So
Good guys.
you're talking about, let's see, Royce won 2, Marty Kissler won 2, Heffernan was in the finals 3 times. So you got and Kissler's in the finals another time. So you got, let's see, 3, 6. You got eight finalists there and 3 guys, and they were the weight below me and my weight and the weight above me. So I was probably like the Jalen Hurts Tua thing at Alabama. You know what I mean? You got a freaking superstar sitting on the bench, and that's when I decided to leave. But my time at Iowa was probably the best time of my career, and I met so many wonderful people there. And I was working out. Like Dave Schultz was there all the time. Nate Carr was there. Like the South Korean team was there. There was Russian. There was everybody in that room. Like I was by far the worst guy in the room. Everybody you wrestled was like a world champion or Olympic champion or national champion, and shit, you might go a whole week and not even score a point besides an intentional release. And
Right.
it just really puts you in your place to show you how good that you really weren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that was probably my favorite memories. I've met so many people there. So when I go to nationals, now I go to nationals every year, and I see a guy who's a national champ, and he struts around like he's king of the world. I'm thinking, like, who the hell are you? There's guys that are a lot better than you. So I'm really not impressed by people that are that way. I'm more impressed with humble people that are good wrestlers. A lot of the guys that I went to school with were very good, and they're still very humble. If you saw them, they'll talk to you, and we talk about the good old days. And so again, that's probably my favorite memories of wrestling.
Got it. Now, this ties into having the humble, college wrestling experience. But as a coach, one of the things, especially when you see someone building something, I find they learn. Some people think you learn more from winning than losing. But what do you take away as a coach from losing? How do you take losses and build that into something for the guys you're coaching today?
Well, one thing I do, I don't video. I used to videotape my first couple of years, but holy shit! You spend enough time coaching without watching videotapes, and by the time you watch videotapes, you probably put in 60 hours a week, and you don't have 60 hours a week to coach. So you need to be able to watch your kids wrestle and come up with each match maybe 1, 2, or 3 things they did wrong and emphasize that. And I think I'm very good at picking up some of the faults of our kids. And I also have several assistant coaches that are very good too. So after each match, we'll kind of talk about things and brainstorm, and we're pretty much all in agreement on a lot of things. And then we'll just work with the kids throughout the next week on certain things. And what I do, I just started this a couple years ago. I do a 3-day rotation for practice. Day number 1 is always takedowns. Day number 2 is counters. So it can be like a counter to a takedown, or it can be counter to legs, or it can be counter, any type of counter. And then day 3 is top and bottom, like escaping and pinning. So I do that rotation all the time, because when I first started coaching, I'd always wanted to work on riding and stuff like that, but it always ended up being takedowns. Every day was takedowns. And by the end of the week, when I thought I would have worked on teaching a kid how to get out of it, I never had time because I was working on takedowns. So I do this 3-day rotation now, and I try to take notes, and I know when we're doing down stuff, I'll point out some things. Hey, on Saturday, this happened to you and you, and this happened to you and you. And I think it helps me in my coaching. I also think it helps the kids because they have an idea coming in or what the day is going to be. So,
gotcha. So does that mean that you don't videotape anymore, or you just leave that up to a manager? Or
I don't watch them.
No,
to be honest with you.
I just want some kids like seeing it. I was just curious.
So I don't believe in it, because I can tell you right now, if you're going to wrestle Bo Nickel, you can videotape that kid all you want. It doesn't matter. He's freaking going to hit you with something, and you're not going to be able to stop it. And like Mark Hall's going to high cross or double leg you.
Right.
And I don't care if he double legs his head to the right or head to the left, or high crosses your right leg or left leg. It doesn't matter. You're freaking not going to stop it. So you can watch freaking videotapes for 24/7. You're still not going to beat those. Or Rutherford, he's going to beat the piss out of you. He's going to front headlock you, and he's going to torture you on top. So you can watch videos all day long. It doesn't matter.
Right. I do think it's one of the biggest changes in wrestling is that everybody can be scouted if they want to be. And these kids are now, like someone did a study last year of Mark Hall at Nationals. He did 34 point scoring moves last year and not one move twice. That's insane.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can watch all the stuff you want. Like, I mean, I always equate everything to football because kids understand football better than wrestling. But like when you play Alabama in football, you know their defense is going to pretty much shut you out. You're going to have to be lucky as hell to score on them. And you know their quarterback, he's going to drop back. He's going to hand off to a running back that you're probably not going to be able to tackle. And if you can't blitz and sack him, he's going to throw it to a wide receiver that nobody in your team can keep up with. So, I mean, you can come up with all kinds of schemes and stuff to try to stop him, but when it's all said and done, you're not going to beat him anyway. So,
yeah, which comes down to that heart.
Well, it just takes you back to what true wrestling is. If you work really hard and worry about yourself instead of worrying about your opponent, and get your moves down to the best that you can get them down to, that's your best chance of winning. To worry about yourself, not worry about the other team.
Couldn't agree with you more. Stop scouting so much and just 100% of your own effort. So, what kind of coach are you as far as going into the season? Are you looking all the way to March? Are you taking the kids 1 week at a time? Is it a little bit of both?
I'm just 1 week at a time, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And we have a match coming up Wednesday night against McDowell, which is a local high school here in Erie. They have a good tradition. We wrestle them Wednesday. Then we have some duels on Saturday at our school. I mean, the only thing I'm looking at right now is McDowell. And then once that's done, I'll look at our duels the next day or that night. So
okay. I
really don't look ahead. I mean, I've had some bad things go wrong here. I mean, I've had kids come here, then I've had kids leave. I've had some of my best junior high kids aren't here anymore. They've gone to other schools. So I really don't ever look ahead because I don't know what the future holds, you know?
Yeah. Carter Starocki, talented wrestler on your team, just committed to Penn State. Can you tell us a little bit about Carter and what your involvement is, if any, in the recruiting process?
Carter's probably the most talented high school kid I've ever coached. He's very, very driven to be successful in wrestling. Like he works out more than probably some teams work out by himself.
Yeah.
And he's just very driven to be successful in wrestling. I think that's probably the reason he is so successful, because he puts like I said, he puts all this time and effort into it. I mean, how can a guy go wrong by doing that? The recruiting process, no. To be honest with you, I really, really tried to stay out of it because I know I'm good friends with several college coaches, and they called me about him, and I just tried to stay out of it because I knew if I stuck my neck into it, I would be hurting one of my friends.
Yeah.
So I told Carter from day one. I said, hey, this is this decision that you have to make with your parents. I said, I'll be glad to help you in any way possible, but I'm not going to make the decision for you, or I'm not going to make any recommendations. I said, but if you have a question about this program or that program, I'll give you what I know, but I'm not going to sway you one way or the other. So I guess that's my involvement with his decision. So
now, do you feel are you a Pennsylvanian now, or are you how do you describe your citizenship in the wrestling community?
Oh man, that's tough. I'd say I'm probably deep down inside I'm still a Hawkeye.
Yeah.
But my best friend's the coach at Iowa State, Kevin Dresser. We were college roommates, and we were best men at each other's weddings. So he's at Iowa State, and throughout this recruiting process, I got to meet Cale Sanderson, and he's just a great person. So I would say if I don't know, I'm good friends with Lou Roselli at Oklahoma too. You know what I mean? It's just it's hard for me to say who I am, but I would say when push comes to shove, I'm probably still a Hawkeye because my sisters and brother are still Hawkeye fans, and my mom still calls me all the time about Iowa football and Iowa wrestling. So I'm probably more in tune with that than anything else.
Gotcha. Back to Carter and just the team in general. Tell me about. Have you noticed the difference? So he's senior here, and he's a really good wrestler. As far as having senior leadership on a team, do you find that it brings, when there's peer leadership, that it's more effective for some of the younger guys to follow that road, or do you have different strategies for a younger team?
It's very difficult because somebody just asked me the same question the other day. We're talking about like elementary wrestling, and they got some experienced kids who are in 5th grade, and they got some novice kids who are in 3rd grade. And I said, what do you think my room's like? I got a kid who's ranked like 2nd or 3rd in the United States, and I got some kids that this is their first year out for wrestling. I said, you talk about your being experienced and novice. I said, shit, it doesn't compare to what I have.
Right.
You got a kid who won a 3rd grade tournament someplace, whoop-de-doop-de, and some kid that never wrestled. I mean, I don't care if it's novice or what. There can't be that much difference in their abilities, but I got a kid in high school that I don't know if hardly anybody in the whole United States can beat him at his weight. And I got other kids that are incoming freshmen that maybe wrestled 2 years junior high, and they're coming in with a record of, 6-35. So how do you work with those kids? So
right.
I would say the leadership thing is very it's very tricky because you have to have a game plan in place that can reach all kids, because if I set my workouts to Carter's level, there's only 2 kids on the whole team that could even keep up with that,
Yeah.
So you have to kind of find a happy medium, and kids like Carter, and I have 3 or 4 other kids that are pretty dang good too. They have to do a little bit extra, and they generally do it. They stay after practice, and they do extra drilling, and they do wrestling after practice. So, and then the average kids, they do what they're supposed to do, and once in a while they'll stay after. And then every once in a while you get kids that are average, and all of a sudden they do put some extra time in, and all of a sudden they're better than average. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I'm saying it's not just, you don't gear everything towards Carter, Strachey, and Quan DeBow, because those guys are a different animal than most of the other animals I have there.
Totally. And that diversity, right? You hear it. I mean, I see. I coach my son's youth team. We're a big team, and the experience level that I'm dealing with, no matter what it is, even the kids at state placer, is nothing like you're talking about. One of the best kids in the country versus a relative newbie.
Yeah.
You've coached at Gannon. You've coached at Edinburgh. What is it about the high school level that attracted you?
Well, college kids, they come in there, they have pretty much their repertoire of moves, or their coach, taught them this and taught them that, and they come in there. I think it's pretty hard to change a kid who's, 18 or 19 years old. It's hard to change them a lot. I mean, you can get in better shape and you can refine some things, but it's hard to change them. But I just know the high school kids, by the time they come in as a freshman, from when they leave as a senior, I mean, you can see a total transformation of a young kid that hasn't even reached puberty yet to a young man that can now, who's went up 5 weight classes, and now he can bench his own weight. Now he can do, instead of doing 0 pull-ups, now he can do 10 pull-ups. And I think they're much more formative, and I guess I enjoy reaching them more than the college kids. But I was never a head coach at a college either, so I can't really compare them that way.
Yeah.
But I just know it's harder to change a college kid than it is a young kid that doesn't really know what's going on yet.
Gotcha. Do you have any consistent coaching points that you use from year to year, or is it changed depending on the group?
No, I have 4 or 5 things that I do all the time. I'm a firm believer in if you come to practice, you'll wrestle. If you don't come to practice, I don't care who you are. I'm not going to wrestle you. That's one thing. The other thing that I have, and I learned this from high school, if you don't come to practice the night before the match, you're not wrestling under any circumstances. Now, the only time I've ever varied on that was when somebody's grandmother died. This kid's grandmother died a couple years ago, and he said he was going to come to practice and miss his grandmother's funeral. And I said, if you come to practice, you're not going to wrestle. You need to go to your grandmother's funeral. I'm making an exception for you. So that's probably the only rule that I really, really don't waver on. And I lost a match last year at Reynolds. I mean, I forfeited a weight, and the kid didn't come to practice the night before. And I could have put him in there, and we gave up 6, and he probably would have won. And if he didn't win, he wouldn't have got pinned. I know that. And all my assistant coaches were pissed at me and said, "Hey, you got to change your rule." I said, I'm not changing my rule. I'm not changing that rule. And I lost the match, but at the end of the day, I still feel I did the right thing. So.
All right. Well, I like it. It's character first. And that's, I mean, wrestling's a metaphor for life, or a transformational experience that, if you start compromising it, you get the wrong lessons.
Well, yeah, winning and losing will take care of itself. If you know what you're doing, the winning will come. If you don't know that's what I was trying to allude to earlier. These coaches, I don't think that half of them know what the hell they're doing. And they're out there showing these cement jobs and these freaking Grammy rolls to this and that. I'm thinking, like, if you watch the higher levels, I mean, that stuff does not work. And if you even watch like the regionals and district finals, I mean, everything's pretty simple. It's a high crotch, it's a double leg, it's maybe a fireman's carry on top. It's generally a cradle or a half Nelson or a bar arm. I mean, it's just the basics that you learn, but they're just really skilled at them. It's hard to stop that stuff.
Yeah. So. Well, when you perfect the simplest things, they become almost magical in wrestling. I find, if you.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you?
No. I was just gonna say I agree with you 100%. Like if you would break down what Penn State does, I guarantee there's nothing fancy there. I guarantee it's all snap downs, it's spin behinds, it's on top. They're not. If you watch what they do on top, it's just very basic and sound stuff, but they're very skilled at it. So.
Got it. Hey, I'll get you out in the last question here. What's your biggest accomplishment in wrestling? What do you consider your biggest accomplishment?
That's yet to be determined.
Nice. That's a young heart.
I'm not finished coaching yet. When I'm done coaching, I can answer that question better.
Is this your last stop?
In coaching?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna retire in a few years, 4 or 5 years, and
from teaching at Edinburgh or coaching.
Yeah, from teaching and coaching. I don't know what I'll do. I plan on moving back to Iowa because my brother has a farm back there. I plan on moving back and being a farmer. So if I do coach again, it'll probably be an assistant coach at one of the high schools back there. But I don't know. I can see myself not coaching. Also, I don't have an answer for that.
I've extended family in Iowa. Where in Iowa is your brother's farm? I mean, not the exact address, but like what school district?
Ely, Iowa, which you've never heard of. You probably heard of Cedar Rapids.
Sure.
If you've ever flown into the Cedar Rapids airport, it's actually an Ely phone number.
I see.
So it's right by Cedar Rapids.
Hey, well, I hope you have a good run this season. I'll be following you, and good luck.
Well, thank you very much. It was nice talking to you. Hopefully I answered your questions fairly well. But I enjoy this, and I still really enjoy coaching. I still feel that I have something valuable to provide to my kids. So that's, I guess, to sum everything up, that's why I still continue to coach.
Well, everybody who I know who knows you has said really good things about you, and you're building a program too.
You give him a breathalyzer? So you asked him that?
I did not. It was over the phone. Just people who know you. That'll be the test.
Give him a breathalyzer or give him a drug test because they're probably drugged or something to say something nice. So
unlikely, but thanks, Coach, and I'll be in touch.
Okay, sounds good, Mike. Nice talking to you. You have a nice day and happy holidays to you and your family.
Thanks. You too.
Yeah. Bye.